Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mr. Nutz. No, I refuse to go for the low-hanging fruit here, thank you very much. This game came out in 1993, which means by video game standards it is not just old or ancient, it is antediluvian. And why do I present this game now? Well, because this is my channel, I can do whatever the hell I want. And second, because I visited my parents, where we cleaned house, and discovered this module buried deep beneath some tiles under the basement floor. I do remember that this game felt frustrating, but burying it under the house is some Evil Dead shit, and I couldn't quite remember why I did that. So to jog my memory, I played it again and I think it just can't be that bad, right? I mean, games back then were, for the lack of a better word, more mascot focused. Every developer tried to score points with their original brain spawn. We saw the birth of anthropomorphic geckos, crackhead bandicoots and annoying bobcats who deserve to be impaled on a rusty fork. But we also witnessed the rise of endearing hedgehogs voiced by Steve Urkel, role model robots, and an Italian plumber with Japanese roots who speaks perfect English. The target audience, of course, was 90s kids, as I was. So whatever it was that pushed me away from the game, it can't be that bad in hindsight. Right? Mr. Nutz is a single-player platformer where you control the titular hero, a white-gloved, black sports shoe-wearing red squirrel which is able to jump, shoot acorns, and use his fluffy tail to swipe away enemies. I guess there are no surprises here. This is pretty much a standard moveset. So maybe I'll find the reason for my Gravedigger session down the line. Speaking of level design, it is functional. It is okay, but it cannot hold a candle to Gems of the Era, which handled platforming way better. The controls are fine as well. Every input feels like I would control a squirrel in real life, it just feels snappy. Honestly, I can't find a reason to mope here. But here's the thing. I get the feeling the levels were specifically designed to draw every last quarter from the pockets of young children. Every level has a mean streak, so to speak. First of all, Mr. Nutz isn't always in the center of the screen, which makes responding to enemies harder. Jumping up the screen becomes a gamble because you never know if there is an adorable killer critter waiting to take a bite out of you, and most of the time, there is. So the only real weapon you have against that kind of bullshit is to memorize the position of every little thing. Looking downwards, we get a lot of leaps of faiths because the camera is too lazy to let me look down if I want to, which could have been easily avoided by placing some items of interest in the jump path, or, I don't know, put a platform somewhere where I can see it, so I know I can jump there. And I wouldn't be so annoyed about this if the levels were just your standard left to right affair, but they aren't. Instead, the game wants you to look into every nook and cranny. Sometimes there's a switch or a key hidden in the level, and without it, you can't progress. That means you basically get forced to play a bit of Pika frustration, because as mentioned before, there might be an enemy lurking in the next screen. But on the flip side, there are a lot of goodies to find. Extra life, health, power-ups, they're all hidden throughout the stages, and the stages themselves hold secret areas as well. But you never really know if it's worth it because chances are you just wind up in a dead end or a pit. In total, the game presents 6 levels with 3 sub-levels each. So there is a lot of stuff to explore, but unless you are a hardcore completionist who is going for all the coins in the game, well, other than bragging rights, I can't find a reason why somebody would go through this ordeal. Compared to Mega Man X, which came out the same year, Mr. Nutz doesn't give you an incentive to explore the levels. But in Mega Man X, you go around and try to find all kinds of power-ups for X, which make him stronger, faster, give him new abilities. It was actually fun to go looking for that stuff. But in Mr. Nutz, the moveset stays the same throughout the whole game. Sure, on occasion you have to push something around, but that's basically it. Apart from finding a key or pushing a button to clear a path, there is no incentive to look at the rest of the level. Even the ending stays exactly the same, which is, quite frankly, a shame. Well, I shouldn't complain too much. At least, the game is fair enough to let you begin from the chapter you died in and doesn't send you back to the beginning. In this regard, it took a page out of Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and quite honestly, it is better this way. I mean, sure, this is a game for kids, but I feel like this was just preparation for middle school. Would you please look at the onslaught of bullies you have to endure while crossing the levels? It feels like a never-ending cascade of critters which want nothing more than to tear you apart, and they will if you slow down or make the wrong move. Please don't send me back to 7th grade again. I'll behave. I eat my vegetables. I promise. Sorry about that. So gameplay-wise, the game is functional, but can't hold a candle to contemporary platformers. But there is something else that stands out at first glance. The game's looks. They're awesome. From an artistic point of view, Mr. Nutz holds up. The sight is still a sight to behold, especially the backgrounds, which were animated with parallax scrolling, and it just looks gorgeous. And you can't say a bad thing about the animations either. All in all, the art style can be likened to a well-executed children's fairy tale book. Even most enemies are whimsy, if a bit wacky at times. I never knew if I was fighting against walking apples or tomatoes, and at this point I am more concerned about why and how they're even alive. And who gave this rat a punch gun? And to be completely honest, there are a few enemies that will give me the willies. These spiders here look more ugly than funny, and I can see how a little kid can be disgusted by them, just a little bit though. The music and sound effects are awesome as well. It underlines the whimsy journey you are on. There's just one sound effect that made me feel uneasy, and that is when I drop the birds that are after me. They are so cute, and I just kill them by the dozen. Hey, wait a second. With all that wildlife we are exterminating here, are we sure that Mr. Nutz is the good guy? In the last levels, we even traveled to the South Pole to murder a tribe of Inuit people who were just ice fishing, all peaceful like, until Mr. Murder Squirrel comes along. Did I put this game away because it made me feel guilt? Holy shit, it's all coming back to me now. Why I dislike farmers and spiders is now apparent to me. For all the cuteness this game is, there is the grotesque element present here as well. And it doesn't stop? The next boss is an ugly witch that throws pumpkins and skeletons, and why is that giant able to regenerate his eyeballs and throw them at me? This game screwed me up because it wanted me to murder everything that moves.
What's the matter, kid? You never seen the Kill Your Family show before?
First, the game wanted me to kill cute critters, and then, when they couldn't take it anymore, they hired the monsters to get rid of the biggest monster. Me. That's why later enemies are armed to the teeth. That's why the rat has a punch gun. That's why I get literally swarmed by cute critters. I am the enemy. It starts off funny and whimsy, but from the first level onward, the signs were there. I just didn't see them. I didn't want to see them. This game is a murder simulator, and I was its willing tool. I was only 7 years old. Impressionable. Malleable. Our house cat, Mr. Snuggles, didn't run away like Mom claimed. And the birds didn't stop chirping around our house because Dad was patrolling outside. It was me. He commanded me to. Who, I ask, who in their right mind would publish a game like that and would give a rating E for everyone? Wait, this game was created by only 2 guys? In that case, they did an okay job. Not great, but good. If the level design were just a little bit better, I would have enjoyed it. So if you don't want to raise your kid to become somebody who enjoys drowning little kittens while wearing a furry costume, then I suggest you give this one a pass. I know I will.